My name is Hayley Quentin, and I graduated from Otis Fine Arts in 2008. My studio practice incorporates all the different aspects of being an artist today, which is more than just making art. So there's the perfect days when you have a painting that's in progress. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to work on. I know the layers that I'm, working on. I have a very specific goal in mind, and I achieve that goal. So that starts with mixing up my palette and then listening to podcasts the whole time. That's really how I get in the mood. I don't really like to listen to music. And then working on a piece where I know where it's going and I really have that goal. Other days that are harder are starting a new piece. Those are always the hardest. And then there's also the boring side, which is not just prepping your surfaces, but all of the administration that goes into being an artist that you don't really think about as an integral part of your practice, but it is. You have to spend a lot of time researching things, you have to spend a lot of time communicating with people, documenting your own work. Having an online presence is really important, and that takes a lot of time. That sort of networking with other people, making connections, putting yourself out there, that's all a part of your studio practice, and it's a part that I think it's overlooked or not talked about. I'm working on a couple of different series, these pieces here and then these ones that are in progress behind me. So I like to work through these sort of dualities in my paintings that when I was at Otis started out with just emphasizing certain parts of the body that I wanted to sexualize or bring attention to, and have this sort of impenetrable screen between the viewer and the other parts of the figure, and just have certain parts come forward, which to me at the time made a lot of sense with how our brain processes vision. When we look at something, we really only see one specific part, and then everything else is less important in the way that I feel like learning about how we process vision is really important to creating an image. And I got that all from a class when I was at Otis from a teacher who was doing this sort of like art and neuroscience, and it was incredible to me. And it is like something I've really enjoyed ever since. So starting with that kind of idea, now I'm taking the sort of single duality there, and I'm just trying it in all these different ways. So things about flatness versus texture, so creating the illusion of depth versus a myth of depth, saturation versus desaturation, complete flat color versus perfect rendering, representation versus abstract. And in this series here, this loop series, here I'm working with the idea of a background that's just as integral to this breaking of illusion as the figures are. So in a corner or in the upper part of the paintings, there's all this little simple signifier of a window, right? So suddenly the figure's in a real space, which I hadn't done in my works previously, even though I had played around with different backgrounds. If you just look at the lower half of the painting, it's still the same sort of flat, simple, abstract background, and then suddenly there's a signifier that changes the rest of the visual information of that background. And then you're thinking about this figure in a real space, in an imagined space. It looks like the exterior view of a window. In reality, it's an interior view. And I feel like that adds to it contributes to a feeling of, again, you're viewing a figure and you believe it for a minute. You think that it could really be real until suddenly there's just one part that's gone a little too far, and then you realize, well, there's no way that a person's entire half of their face could be purple. There's no way that this arm could be this color pink compared to the ribs, which are this color of blue. And I feel like I want to create this strange illusion up to a certain point. So I want to keep pushing it, and in all the different ways, whether that's just in the subject, but also in the application of paint, in the color choice and the technique. There has to be some kind of marriage between all of those things. And I just want to keep seeing, how far can I push it? How far can I make it believable? How far will the viewer come with me and believe me? And that's what I'm working on now.